A simple woman kicked out of car dealership. Next day, her billionaire husband's Rolls-Royce arrives. Amina finished her volunteer shift at the neighborhood center just as the afternoon sun slid behind thin clouds. She stacked the last box of donated books, signed out at the front desk, and waved to the children in the reading nook. Her tote bag was light, but her heart felt full. She had promised her mother she would look for a safe, comfortable car this week, something easy on the knees and gentle over speed bumps. Today seemed like a good day to begin. She checked her bus schedule, then decided to walk. The dealership was not far, and the air felt kind. Prestige Motors looked like a glass ship anchored on a busy street. The windows rose from the ground like a clean wall of light. Inside, polished floors shone like still water. Chrome lines on the cars caught every reflection. Amina paused on the sidewalk for a moment to study the display. She could see her faint reflection next to a sedan the color of rain. She smiled at how small she looked next to it. She was in sandals, a simple cotton dress, and a thin scarf. No jewelry. No heavy bag. She did not mind. She knew what she wanted to ask. She pushed the door open and stepped inside. Cool air touched her face. A soft instrumental track played from hidden speakers. The scent of fresh coffee drifted from somewhere near the lounge. The receptionist at the front desk glanced up, then down. Amina greeted her with a polite good afternoon and asked if someone could help with questions about safety features, warranty terms, and seat height adjustment. The receptionist handed Amina a brochure and said, "Someone will be with you shortly." The words were correct, but the tone was distant, as if the words had to travel through glass to reach Amina. Amina took a seat near the window and opened the brochure. She had made a list at home. She wanted adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, blind spot monitoring, and a backup camera with clear lines. She wanted seats that adjusted in small steps, so her mother could find a sweet spot that did not hurt the knees. She wanted honest numbers on service costs. She wanted to know if the service center stayed open late on weekdays because the community center sometimes needed her on Saturdays. A man in a dark suit stood by a pillar, studying the floor like a coach before a game. He was the sales manager, though Amina did not know that yet. His name was Mr. Reed. He spoke in low tones to a senior salesperson, then glanced toward Amina and looked away. Two new customers came in behind her, a couple in smart clothes. The receptionist stood up at once, offered them coffee, and called a salesperson before they even asked. Amina watched, not with anger, but with a curious, patient mind. She folded the corner of one brochure page and kept reading. 10 minutes passed. Amina stood and walked to a mid-range sedan on the display floor. It was not the most expensive car, and not the cheapest. It was the kind of car that could carry a family and still feel calm on a long road. She reached for the door handle. A salesperson stepped between her and the car with a practiced smile. "Sorry, this area is reserved for appointments," he said. "Do you have an appointment today?" Amina said she did not, and that she wanted to test how the seat felt for a person with sensitive knees. "You can book online," he said. "Today we are very busy with serious clients." The words "serious clients" landed in the space between them like a small stone in still water. Amina did not flinch. "I am serious about my mother's comfort," she said gently. "I will not take long. I only want to sit for a minute and check the seat height, nothing else." The salesperson glanced over his shoulder. Mr. Reed was watching. He gave a small signal with his hand. The salesperson's smile grew tighter. "Our policy is to prioritize customers who are ready to purchase," he said. "If you want to read, the brochures are over there." Amina nodded once. She did not argue or raise her voice. She closed the brochure and placed it back in the rack. She looked around the showroom and took in the details. A couple laughed with their salesperson at a nearby table. Another customer clinked a spoon against a porcelain cup. A young associate in a neat shirt, his name tag read Bilal, stood near a computer, watching with an uncertain expression, as if he wished to help but did not know if he was allowed. Amina turned toward the exit. At the door, the valet and security attendant, Imran, held the handle open for her. "Thank you," she said. He lowered his voice. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I saw you waiting." His tone was sincere, not heavy, not dramatic. It was the tone of someone who noticed small things and cared about them. Amina gave him a grateful smile. "It's all right," she said. "Thank you for your kindness." She stepped into the late afternoon light. The city noise wrapped around her like a familiar song. She did not feel small. She felt clear. She walked to the bus stop and checked the schedule. A bus would arrive in 6 minutes. She sat on the bench and opened her phone. She had a message from the community center: a new shipment of blankets would arrive next week. She replied with a thumbs up. Then she opened the Notes app where she kept her car research. She added a new line: ask next dealership about seat height range, millimeters, not just adjustable. Ask about service center hours. Ask for itemized quote, not the package. She saved the note and looked up. The bus was pulling in. On the ride home, the city slipped by in pieces: a bakery window with fresh bread, a schoolyard with a single soccer ball gliding across, a woman balancing a stack of papers with one hand and a phone with the other. Amina thought about the phrase "serious clients." It was curious how words could be used to open doors or close them. She believed in good words used in good ways. She believed in patience, too, but not the kind that lets wrong ideas grow. She believed in the kind of patience that looks for a better way and then chooses it. Her apartment was bright and neat, with plants on the sill and a kettle that liked to sing. She hung her scarf on the back of a chair and put the kettle on the stove. As the water heated, she took out her notebook, a paper one, with a soft cover, and wrote a few lines by hand. Do not judge a place only by the most expensive thing in it. Judge it by the way the smallest request is treated. She paused, then added, if a place can honor a small request, it can likely handle a big one with care. The kettle whistled, and she poured hot water over tea leaves. The steam carried a quiet comfort into the room. She called her mother and asked how her knees felt today. Better, her mother said, but the steps at the clinic are so high. Amina told her she was still looking for the right car, one with gentle seats and a steady ride. Her mother said, do not hurry. Choose with a calm heart. They spoke about the community center, the children, and a neighbor's new cat that pretended not to be friendly but secretly was. The door opened with a soft click. Omar stepped in, tired from a long day, but with the kind of tired that comes from work one chooses. He set his folder on the table and kissed Amina's forehead. How did the car search go? He asked. Amina poured him tea and told him the truth, simply, without drama. She told him about the glass building, the bright floors, the brochure, the waiting, the careful smile that was not kind, and the phrase serious clients. She told him about Bilal's watchful eyes and Imran's small kindness at the door. Omar listened without interrupting. He did not jump to solutions. He asked only a few careful questions. Did you feel unsafe? She shook her head. No. Just unwelcome. He nodded. Did you get the information you needed? Not yet, she said. But I know which questions to ask now. He looked at her notes and smiled at the line about seat height measured in millimeters. This is very you, he said, warmly. Precise and thoughtful. They ate a simple dinner and spoke of other things. After dishes were washed and books were put away, Omar sat back and thought for a moment. May I share a thought? He asked. Amina nodded. Tomorrow, he said, let us give them a second chance to show who they are. But let us also make it easy for them to see who you are. He paused. I will send the rolls in the morning. Yusuf can take you. Wear what you like. Carry your notes. Walk in the same way you did today. If their values are good, they will show it. If they are not, we will know for sure. Amina looked at him with a mixture of affection and humor. You always choose a quiet test, she said. Not a loud one. He smiled. Loud tests make noise. Quiet tests make truth. He reached for her hand. I do not want to embarrass anyone. I want to lift up the right people. If someone there wants to do the right thing, let us find that person. Night fell gently over the city. The window held a few small reflections, like stars that had stepped inside for a rest. Amina tidied the table and placed her notes in the tote. She checked the list again. Adaptive safety features. Clear warranty. Itemized costs. Service hours. Seat height range. She added one more line, ask for the most junior associate available. It was not a test of knowledge. It was a test of listening. She had learned that the person who listens best often finds the right answer faster than the person who talks first. Before sleep, she stepped onto the balcony and felt the soft wind. Cars moved far below, little beads of light on a dark string. She thought about the people inside each car. Every person had a story and a reason to hurry or slow down. She thought about the receptionist, the salesperson, Mr. Reed, and the customers laughing over coffee. She wished them well. She wished for a day when the first thought that rose in any place of business was simple, how can I help you? It was not a complex policy. It was a beginning. She went to bed with an easy heart, not because everything had gone well, but because she had stayed true to herself. In the quiet room, the clock ticked like a calm breath. Amina set her alarm, closed her eyes, and rested. Morning would come. Her plan was not complicated. She would arrive when the doors opened. She would ask for help with the same gentle voice. She would choose to notice the people who chose kindness, even in small ways. Just before sleep took her, she sent one text to Omar, don't worry. I'm fine. I'll look again tomorrow. She added a small heart and a car emoji, then laughed softly at herself for it. She placed the phone on the table, reached to turn off the lamp, and let the darkness settle like a soft blanket. Somewhere in the city, a night crew washed a showroom floor until it reflected everything above it. Somewhere else, a driver checked fuel, cleaned the glass, and laid a fresh cloth in a quiet car. The world turned. Amina dreamed of a steady road and a seat that fit just right, and of a door that would open in the morning because every person deserves a fair welcome. Morning began as a soft gray line at the edge of the window. Amina opened her eyes before the alarm and lay still for a moment, listening to the quiet. The city had not yet found its full sound. She could hear only a distant bus and the small hum of the fridge. She felt rested. Her plan was simple. She would go back to the same place. She would use the same calm voice. She would ask for help the same way she did yesterday. Only one new thing would be different, the car that brought her there. She rose and made tea while Omar reviewed a short list on his tablet. He did not rush. He never rushed the first hour of a day. He believed the way a day starts can shape everything that follows. When Amina placed a cup beside him, he smiled and slid the tablet over to show her 3 lines he had typed like a tiny plan. 1, it read, arrive right at opening, no crowd, no pressure. 2, request the most junior associate who listens well. 3, seek clarity, not apology, then decide. Amina nodded. Good, she said. Clear and kind. Omar called the driver, Yusuf, and spoke gently, like someone giving a trusted friend a careful task. Please bring the Phantom at 8, he said. Fresh cloths, water, and a quiet presence. No rushing. No horn. Park in a way that doesn't block anyone. Yusuf, who took pride in details, promised it would be perfect. He had prepared the car late last night. He had polished the hood ornament until it shone like a little piece of morning, and he had checked the tire pressure twice. He knew Amina liked a smooth ride and soft music, so he set the radio to a calm station and lowered the volume. Amina dressed just as she had yesterday, simple, neat, comfortable. She chose the same sandals. She tied her hair back with the same plain scarf. She tucked her notebook and phone into her tote bag and added a pen that wrote clean lines. Omar noticed and felt quietly proud. There was no costume today. No new role to play. There was only Amina being herself, walking into a place that would now have a second chance to do the same. Before leaving, Amina called her mother. "We're going again today," she said. "To ask about the car." Her mother sounded pleased. "Take your time," she said. "And sit in the seat for at least 5 minutes. Don't rush it. Sometimes a seat feels fine for 1 minute and strange for 6. Amina smiled. "I will time it," she promised. They exchanged a small prayer for a good day, the kind that asks for patience and offers patience in return. Across town, Prestige Motors was waking up too. The night crew had finished their work, the floors looked like a mirror. A delivery truck had dropped off boxes of brochures. Imran checked the forecourt for any small pieces of trash and straightened the welcome stand so it faced the street. He liked things to face the right way. He wiped the handle of the entrance door and tested the automatic slide to make sure it opened smoothly. These were small tasks, but he believed small tasks were how big things worked. Inside, Mr. Reed gathered the staff for a short huddle. He talked about numbers and targets and this week's incentive. He reminded them to pre-qualify customers early and to focus energy where it counts. He said it in a smooth voice that sounded like he had said it many times before. He did not mention yesterday, but the memory of yesterday was in the room, even if he did not say it out loud. The receptionist shifted on her feet. A senior salesperson checked his watch. Only Bilal kept looking at the door, as if he expected something important to happen just after it opened. Bilal had not slept very well. The scene from yesterday kept replaying in his mind, the gentle woman with the brochure, the blocked door, the tight smile, the phrase "serious clients." He was new, yes, but new did not mean blind. He had joined this work because he liked helping people find the right choice for their life, not just a number to add to a board. He thought of his first day, when an older mentor had said, "Listen first. If you listen long enough, the customer will tell you what the right car is." Today, he promised himself, he would stand a little closer to the entrance. At exactly 8, Yusuf eased the Rolls-Royce around the corner and into the forecourt. The car moved with a quiet confidence, as if the air itself stepped aside to make room for it. The morning light slid across the hood and rose up the tall windows. Imran noticed it first, not because of the car's price, but because of how carefully it was parked. Not crooked, not flashy, not blocking the ramp, just respectful. The receptionist looked up too, and so did Mr. Reed. He straightened his tie, smoothed his jacket, and told everyone to be sharp. The door opened from inside. Amina stepped out first. Yusuf walked around to open the passenger door, but Amina was already standing there with her tote, steady on her feet. She nodded to Yusuf with thanks and to Imran with a kind smile, as if greeting neighbors on a quiet street. She did not rush. She did not look around to see who was watching. She simply walked toward the glass entrance in the same simple sandals and the same calm way she had walked yesterday. "Good morning," she said to the receptionist. The receptionist blinked as if waking up a second time and returned the greeting with more warmth than yesterday. "Good morning, ma'am. How can we help you today?" Amina's answer was ready and gentle. "I'd like to compare 2 trims of the same model," she said. "And if possible, I would like to be assisted by your most junior associate. I would like someone who can take time to answer small questions well." The receptionist looked surprised for half a breath, then nodded and turned toward the floor where the staff stood. Bilal stepped forward before anyone called his name. "I can help," he said, not loudly, but with a clear, steady voice that traveled well. Mr. Reed's eyes narrowed a little. He had planned to take this client himself. A Rolls-Royce arrival meant a certain kind of number in his mind. But Amina looked at Bilal and smiled. "Thank you," she said. "A chair would be helpful for later, when my mother comes to sit. And a bottle of water, if it is not too much trouble." "Of course," Bilal said, and he moved quickly, not to impress, but to serve. Mr. Reed drifted closer and placed himself near the conversation. "Welcome to Prestige Motors," he said. "I'm the sales manager. I'd love to personally guide you through our finest packages." His voice had the smooth shine of the showroom floor. Amina listened and then answered with grace. "Thank you," she said, "but I'd like to continue with him." She nodded toward Bilal. "He listened to my request." The sentence was simple, but it drew a small circle around what mattered most to her. While Bilal arranged a chair and water, Amina walked to the same model she had reached for yesterday. The car waited like a paused song. She did not touch it yet. She asked Bilal to explain the seat adjustment in clear steps, and he did, pointing to buttons and showing how the memory function saved positions for two different drivers. "May I sit now?" she asked. "Please," he said, opening the door and stepping back without blocking the way. She sat slowly, settled, and set a timer on her phone for 5 minutes, just as her mother had said. "I will not speak until it rings," she told him with a small smile. Sometimes first impressions are tricks. During those 5 quiet minutes, the showroom felt different. It was as if someone had opened a window. Amina breathed in and out, feeling how the cushion held her, how the angle of the backrest supported her shoulders, how her knees felt at this height, and whether the edges pressed or held. She adjusted the lumbar support in small clicks and found a spot that felt like care. When the timer chimed, she looked up at Bilal. "Better than I expected," she said. "Now the second trim, please." Mr. Reed tried again to step in, this time with a stack of laminated sheets for premium packages. He spoke about shine and coating and special thread. Amina listened and then pointed to the bottom of the sheet. "Can you provide me with an itemized quote?" she asked. "I prefer to see each part clearly. I like to understand what is required and what is optional." Bilal answered before Mr. Reed could. "Yes," he said. "We can print a clean breakdown." Mr. Reed gave him a look, but the look slid off. The tone of the moment had changed. It belonged to clarity now. As Bilal walked to the printer, the receptionist whispered to another associate, "Is that the same woman from yesterday?" The associate nodded. "Yes, I think so." Imran, standing by the door, kept his face still, but his heart felt lighter. He had seen many entrances and exits. He knew when a place was learning something. He hoped today would be one of those days. Back at the table, Amina reviewed the printout. She circled 2 lines and drew a small question mark next to an added fee. "What is this for?" she asked. Bilal explained what he knew and admitted where he was unsure. "I will check with service to confirm," he said. "I don't want to guess." Amina appreciated that answer more than a fast, confident guess. "Thank you," she said. "Honesty is faster in the end." Mr. Reed, feeling the current move away from him, suggested a larger office for comfort. Amina looked around. The small round table worked just fine. She preferred open spaces to closed rooms. "Here is good," she said. "I want to keep this simple." She took out her notebook and read her list out loud, not to show off, but to keep everyone on the same page: adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, blind spot monitoring, clear camera lines, seat height in small steps, warranty in plain words, Service hours after 6 on weekdays if possible. Bilal took notes too. His handwriting was neat. He had always liked neat handwriting, it made the world feel organized. Omar texted at that moment, "How is the chair?" Amina replied, "Supportive. I will time the other one too." Then she added a second message, "They are listening today." He wrote back a single word, "Good." He knew that word could carry a lot of meaning if you let it. Just then, the franchise owner walked in from the street entrance. He had received a message about a Rolls-Royce at the door and a client who wanted itemized clarity. He looked around without hurry. He recognized Omar's driver by face and Amina by the warm, steady way she held herself. He did not interrupt. He watched how Bilal answered questions and how Mr. Reed hovered. It took less than a minute for him to see the shape of the morning. Amina stood to sit in the second trim. She repeated the 5-minute test. This seat held her a little differently, and she made a note about a slight ridge near the back of the thigh. "This might bother my mother after 20 minutes, she said. "We will test again when she arrives." Bilal offered a cushion to simulate an added layer. She tried that too and took another note. She did not rush this part. Comfort is not dramatic, but it is the difference between a good day and a tired day. When she finished, Amina returned to the table. "Thank you," she said to Bilal. "You are helping well." Then she turned for the first time toward Mr. Reed. Her voice stayed kind. "Yesterday I asked for 5 minutes of attention," she said. "Today you have my full attention. I hope we can use it wisely." She did not say more. She did not need to. The words were like a mirror set gently on the table. Across the glass, the city had fully awakened now. People walked by with coffee cups and briefcases and school bags. A bus sighed at the curb and moved on. The showroom felt both the same and different. The cars shone just as they had before, but the space was filled with a new kind of light, the kind that comes when a simple request is finally met with real care. Yusuf waited by the rolls with the trunk slightly open, ready with a clean cloth and a bottle of water if anyone needed it. Imran adjusted the welcome stand by 2 small inches and smiled to himself. He had a feeling this day would be talked about in staff rooms later, not as a loud story, but as a quiet turning point. Amina checked her watch. It was still early. There was time to do this right. She looked at Bilal and said, "Let us go line by line. We will remove what is not needed. We will keep what matters." Mr. Reed opened his mouth to suggest a bundle, then closed it again. The owner, watching from a short distance, nodded once, as if marking a small but important note on an invisible page. Outside, the hood ornament of the rolls caught a brighter beam of sun. Inside, a simple woman with a clear list, a junior associate with a good pen, and a showroom full of lessons were ready for the next step. The day had begun with a plan to seek clarity, not apology. And clarity was exactly what was walking in, seat by seat, line by line, breath by breath, toward the place where the right decision would become easy to see. Bilal returned from the service desk with a fresh printout, the paper still warm and neat. He placed it on the small round table and slid it slightly toward Amina so she could read without strain. Each line was clear: base price, safety package, registration, delivery, and the add-ons that had fancy names but simple meanings. Amina traced each row with the tip of her pen, not to mark the paper, but to guide her eyes. "Thank you," she said. "This is helpful." Her voice stayed calm, the kind that makes other voices slow down to match its pace. Mr. Reed stepped in with a polished smile. "Our premium protection bundle saves time," he said smoothly. "You get coating, mats, and special care visits." Amina lifted her gaze and asked, "What does the coating do in measurable terms? How many visits count as special? And if something is useful, why not list it clearly?" The questions were not traps. They were lamps being turned on. Bilal looked to Mr. Reed, who gave answers that sounded big but felt light. Amina did not argue. She simply drew a small circle around the items she did not need and wrote optional next to them. She called Omar and placed the phone on speaker so no one had to lean in. "Good morning," he said, his voice steady and warm. "How is the seat?" Amina smiled. "Supportive," she said. "We tested both trims for 5 minutes. The first one is better for mother." Omar said, "Good. May I ask 2 policy questions while everyone is here?" Mr. Reed nodded, his smile in place. A few associates nearby paused to listen without making it obvious. The owner stayed at a short distance, hands folded, watching the way the moment formed by itself. Omar spoke clearly. "Is your policy to restrict access to display cars to people with appointments?" Mr. Reed answered, "We welcome everyone, but we must prioritize serious clients." Omar's voice stayed gentle. "What makes someone serious before you listen to them?" A quiet passed over the table like a small cloud. Amina did not change her expression. Bilal kept his eyes on the page as if the answer might be written there if anyone chose to write it. "And second," Omar continued, "do you have a written standard for itemized, transparent quotes as the default, not the exception?" Mr. Reed said, "We can provide them upon request." Omar asked, "Why not by default?" "People move faster when they see clearly." The way he said it did not accuse. It invited. Everyone in the circle could feel which way the day wanted to go now. A couple across the showroom whispered to each other, not in a sharp way, but in a curious way. One said, "Wasn't she here yesterday?" The other nodded. Imran, at the door, kept standing straight, his eyes kind. He had seen storms and he had seen calms. This was neither. This was the moment before a place chooses who it wants to be. Bilal returned with another sheet, this one a clean version after removing all optional extras Amina had crossed out. He added a note about an extended warranty and wrote the hours of the service center in a neat margin. "They can take late appointments on Tuesdays and Thursdays until 7, he said. "It fills up fast, but it is possible if we book early." Amina made a small checkmark next to that line. "Thank you," she said. "We will plan around that." Mr. Reed tried a new approach. "We also have a platinum welcome experience," he said, "with a private room and a custom handover ceremony for special clients. It comes with a small fee," but Amina raised a hand politely, not to stop him, only to make space for her words. "Respect in an open room is welcome enough," she said. "I prefer simple and honest. I do not need a ceremony. I need a car that treats my mother's needs with care and a service schedule that respects real life." The owner took a step closer. He still did not speak. He let the scene tell him what it wanted to be. He watched Bilal's posture, present, not pushy. He watched Mr. Reed's posture, polished, yes, but fixed on a certain result. He watched Amina, the center of the moment, and yet she did not act like one. He watched the phone on the table, where Omar's silence carried the sound of trust. Amina tapped the paper softly. "There is one fee here I do not recognize," she said, pointing to a line that sounded official but did not say much. Bilal hesitated. "I will check," he said. "I think it might be a default in the system." He walked to the desk, asked a quiet question, and returned with the answer. "It is a pre-filled line," he said, "meant for a certain package we removed. It should not be there now." He crossed it out, wrote the correct figure in neat numbers, and initialed the change. Amina smiled. "That is all it takes," she said. "A simple correction. Thank you for making it visible." Mr. Reed glanced at the owner and then at the numbers on the table. He moved to gather the pages. Amina placed a finger on the edge of the printout without force, just enough to say, "Not yet." She looked at him kindly. "Yesterday I asked for 5 minutes and was told to come back later," she said. Today I was greeted and listened to. I am prepared to continue in good faith. But before I do, I want to understand one thing clearly. How will this place make sure that the next person who walks in dressed like me or dressed differently gets the same fair start? The question did not point backward. It pointed forward. The owner heard it that way. He stepped in fully now and introduced himself with a simple, "Good morning." He did not list his role or his years. He looked only at Amina and then at Bilal, and finally at Mr. Reed. "We will address that," he said. "And we will put it in writing." Mr. Reed began to speak, but the owner lifted a gentle hand. "Let me go first," he said. His voice was steady, the kind that had learned the shape of hard days. He turned to the team and asked, "What is our first promise to someone who walks in?" The receptionist answered, "Greet them and offer help." "Good," he said. "And what is our second promise?" Bilal said, "Listen before suggesting." The owner nodded. "And our third?" An associate at a nearby desk said, "Be clear about what is optional and what is included." The owner smiled. "If we can hold to those three before anything else," he said, "we will not need to repair a first impression later." Amina listened with care. She was not looking for a speech. She was looking for a sign that today would be different from yesterday in a way that stayed. The owner looked back at her. "Ma'am," he said, "you should not have been turned away yesterday. That is not the standard we want. We will train the standard we do want. We will post it by the door. And we will check it in our meetings, not only our numbers." His words were not heavy. They were specific. Specific words are easier to trust. Mr. Reed cleared his throat. "We were busy yesterday," he said. "We have to meet targets. It is hard to balance." The owner kept his eyes on him for a calm second. "Targets are not the first greeting," he said. "They are the outcome of many right greetings. If we get the greeting right, the rest follows." Omar's voice came through the phone again, softer now. "Thank you," he said. "Clarity is all we asked for." Amina turned the phone so the speaker faced the center of the small table. "We would like to complete a fair purchase today," she said, "but only if the process speaks the same way the words do." She looked at Bilal. "Shall we confirm the final figure for the first trim we tested, with the safety features we listed and without the extras?" Bilal confirmed each line, his finger moving down the page like a careful guide. He read the totals aloud, then wrote them again in clean rounded numbers, the kind a person can read later in a hurry and still understand. He explained the warranty in plain words, not in brand phrases. He gave Amina a copy and kept one for the file. He did not press the pen into her hand. He let it lie on the table until she reached for it by her own decision. A hush spread through the showroom, not because anyone had shouted, but because the mood of a room can change when people see respect being practiced in real time. The couple who had whispered earlier looked over with small smiles. The receptionist stood a little straighter as if the post by the door had already been put up. Imran's shoulders loosened. Yusuf, by the rolls, saw none of this from where he waited, but he felt the lightness of the air when the glass door opened for a customer and closed again without effort. Sometimes a place shows its change through the smallest parts. Amina took a breath and nodded. "I am comfortable with this," she said, tapping the final number. "I would like to bring my mother this afternoon to test the seat one more time before we sign. She will be honest about comfort." Bilal smiled. "That is perfect," he said. "We can set the seat to your saved position, then adjust for her." Mr. Reed started to suggest a faster close. The owner shook his head slightly, almost invisible, but clear enough. "Let the process be right," he said, not loudly, just enough for those who needed to hear. Amina looked at Mr. Reed. "There is one more thing," she said, and her tone stayed gentle, like a hand resting lightly on a table. Yesterday I felt small in this space. Today I feel seen. I will not tell this story on the internet. I would rather see the change on your wall and in your practice. If I come back in a week and stand by the door, will a simple welcome be waiting for me, even if I do not arrive in a fine car? Mr. Reed opened his mouth, then closed it again. The owner answered. Yes, he said. And not only for you. She reached for her tote and slipped her notebook inside. She stood, then paused, and looked at Bilal. Thank you for listening, she said. You made hard things simple. That is a real skill. Bilal felt a warmth in his chest he had not felt since his hiring day. Thank you for trusting me, he said. That is a real gift. Before she left, Amina turned back toward Mr. Reed and the owner. Yesterday I asked for 5 minutes, she said softly. Today I am ready to give this place something more valuable than money. I am ready to give it a chance to be the kind of place it wants to be. Her words did not rise. They settled into the room like light settling across a floor, showing the shape of everything without moving anything. She walked out with the same calm step she had used to walk in. The glass door opened with ease. Imran held it, and she thanked him by name, which made his eyes brighten. Yusuf opened the rolls with quiet grace, and Amina slipped into the seat as if it were any other car, because in that moment it was, simply a tool to carry a person with care from one place to another. Inside the showroom, the owner looked at Mr. Reed and then at the floor plan, as if he could already see where the new sign would go. Today, he said quietly, we begin again. Bilal gathered the papers into a neat folder and set a reminder on his screen for the afternoon test sit with Amina's mother. The receptionist opened a fresh notepad and wrote at the top, Greet. Listen. Be clear. She underlined each word once. On the way home, Amina watched the city pass as a series of small stories, a tea stall opening its shutters, a child holding a parent's hand at a crossing, a cyclist waiting for the light with one foot on the ground. Her phone buzzed. Omar's message read, proud of you. She typed back, proud of us. She added a small checkmark emoji, the kind that means something has been made clear and can now be done well. The road was smooth. The day was young. The next steps would be simple, bring mother, test the seat, sign if it felt right, and then drive back to the community center to share happy news with people who would celebrate not the car, but the care that guided the choice. The story had started with a closed door and a wrong word. Now it was moving toward an open door and a promise written where everyone could see it. The afternoon sun softened the edge of the city when Amina returned with her mother, a small woman with careful steps and eyes that noticed everything. Yusuf parked the rolls the same respectful way as before and opened the door with quiet grace. Amina held her mother's hand as they walked to the glass entrance. Imran straightened the welcome stand and smiled. Welcome back, he said. We have a chair ready. Amina's mother thanked him with the warm politeness of someone who has seen many days and still chooses kindness. Inside, the showroom felt steadier than yesterday, like a room that had taken a long breath and decided to use it well. Bilal hurried over with a gentle excitement he tried to hide. He placed a low, cushioned chair beside the first trim Amina preferred. He had already saved Amina's seat position as driver 1 and left driver 2 for her mother. Take your time, he said. We can pause as often as you like. Amina's mother touched the edge of the door, then the side of the seat, as if greeting an old friend. She sat carefully, testing the cushion with a slow shift of weight. Amina set a 5-minute timer and whispered, tell me exactly what you feel. For a minute, there was only quiet. The kind of quiet where a decision is being shaped by honest listening. Amina's mother rolled her shoulders back, adjusted the lumbar support in 3 small clicks, and lifted the seat 2 notches. She tried a deeper breath. Better, she said softly. I feel held, not pressed. When the timer chimed, she tried the second trim for fairness. After 4 minutes, she shook her head. A little ridge, she said. On a short trip, fine. On a long trip, I would ask to stop early. Amina made a simple check mark in her notebook next to the first trim. They were not chasing a prize. They were choosing comfort. While they tested, the owner stood a few steps away with Mr. Reed. He did not rush to speak. He watched how Bilal waited, how he answered only when asked, and how Amina's mother took her time without anyone pushing. The owner nodded once, as if confirming an idea he had been carrying. Then he walked to the reception desk, took a blank card, and wrote 3 lines in large, clear letters: "Greet everyone. Listen first. Be clear." He slid the card into a small frame and placed it at the front counter like a promise under construction. Omar arrived soon after, not with fanfare, but with a slim folder and a steady smile. He greeted the owner, shook Imran's hand, and thanked the receptionist for the water she offered. He did not look for a private room or a large audience. He went straight to the small round table where Amina kept her notes and Bilal kept the itemized quote. "Shall we complete this the same way we began it?" Omar asked line by line, with good light. The owner agreed. Mr. Reed gathered himself and joined, a step behind. Bilal read out the list. Base price. Safety package. Registration. Delivery. Standard mats included. Optional coatings removed. The small fee that had slipped in by habit yesterday was gone. He showed the warranty and explained it in plain words. "This means regular service for these parts," he said, pointing, "and this means support for defects, not wear." Amina asked about service hours again. "Late slots on Tuesdays and Thursdays until 7, Bilal repeated. "If you ever need a ride home after leaving the car, we can arrange it if you tell us early." The practical detail felt like care, not a trick. Mr. Reed attempted a final polish. "For our special clients, we offer a private handover experience." That the owner lifted a hand gently. "Today," he said, "our best experience is open, simple, and honest. Let us show that." Mr. Reed lowered his eyes and nodded. He had the look of a person learning a new stance and trying to make it feel natural. Amina turned the folder so her mother could see the numbers. "Do these look clear?" she asked. Her mother adjusted her glasses and traced the rows the way Amina had done in the morning. "Clear," she said. "When things are clear, even a long page feels short." She reached for the pen and tapped it on the table, once. "But, before you sign, my child, ask your last 2 questions." Amina smiled. Her mother had always believed a good last question saved a person from 5 new questions later. So Amina asked them. "First," she said to the owner, "will you post your 3 promises publicly by the entrance today?" The owner nodded. "I will do it now," he said. "And a full version by tomorrow." He turned to the receptionist. "Please print the draft we discussed and place it beside the door." She moved quickly, as if she had been waiting to hear those words all morning. "Second," Amina said, "we prefer that Bilal handle the handover and receive the commission." He listened first. He made the hard part simple. The owner answered without pause. "Of course," he said. He looked at Mr. Reed to be sure the message landed, not as a rebuke, but as a direction. Omar looked across the showroom to where Imran stood, quiet and steady, as always. "There is one more request," he said. "Yesterday, when nothing looked impressive about our arrival, Imran showed courtesy. I would like him to be recognized for that." The owner smiled, not a wide smile, but a true one. "We can do that," he said. "A recognition note today and a bonus this month." He turned to Imran. "Thank you for keeping our door open in more than one way." Imran's face warmed with a shy gratitude that needed no words. A couple walked in just then, modestly dressed, holding hands, the kind of pair who walk closely because the world can be large. The receptionist greeted them with a real smile and a simple offer, Welcome. How can we help you? She did not ask for an appointment first. She did not look past them. She placed 2 brochures on the counter and then, remembering the new card, turned it so the words faced outward. Greet everyone. Listen first. Be clear. The couple's shoulders loosened. They did not know a sign had just been put there. They only felt what a sign can do when it becomes behavior. Back at the table, the owner placed a fresh, itemized purchase agreement in front of Amina and Omar. If this matches your notes, he said, we will sign at your pace. Amina compared each line with her notebook, then set the pen down for a moment. Before we sign, she said softly, I would like to add one joy. Omar looked at her with curiosity. A joy? She nodded. A second purchase. The community center needs a reliable service van for deliveries and weekend drives. If the numbers are fair, we will buy the sedan for our family and the van for the center, both under my name, both with the same clarity and the same courtesy. And Bilal will handle both. For a breath, the table went very still, as if the room had pressed pause to mark a turning point. Then Bilal's eyes shone. The owner's voice softened. We can do that, he said. And we will give the center a service plan at cost. Mr. Reed swallowed and stood straighter. He understood what had just happened. A sale had not been won through pressure or polish. It had been earned through patience and trust. He looked at Bilal with a different kind of respect, the kind that says, I see the work you did, and I will learn from it. Amina's mother asked to sit in the passenger seat one more time. I want to be very sure, she said. Bilal escorted her to the car, adjusted the settings back to driver 1, and then set driver 2 for her trial. This time, she closed her eyes for a minute and listened to her own breathing. When she opened them, she smiled. It feels like someone remembered I would sit here, she said. That was enough. She climbed out with care, and Bilal offered an arm without making a show of it. Kindness, when right-sized, feels like air, necessary and unnoticed. They returned to the table. Omar signed where he was asked to sign. Amina signed twice. Bilal signed as the representative. The owner signed as a witness and as a promise keeper for what the new sign would mean. The pens clicked, copies were made, a small folder was handed to Amina with the neat weight of something done correctly. There was no ribbon. There was no speech. There was only relief that comes when people hold a standard and keep it. Before we finish, Omar said, I want to thank the team for the correction made today. We all make missteps. What matters is the next step. He turned to Mr. Reed. Thank you for standing here with us while the next step was taken. Mr. Reed nodded. I appreciate the chance, he said. His voice was lower than before, more human than polished. I will make sure the training carries the same message. The owner added, tomorrow morning, we will do a 15-minute refresh, greeting, listening, and clear quoting as default. Every new hire will learn it on day 1. A small, unscripted moment arrived. The modest couple at the front had been given permission to sit in a display car, no appointment, just a friendly please. The woman laughed softly at how the seat rose like a gentle elevator. The man said, feels safe. Their joy sent a quiet wave through the room. It was not loud. It did not need to be. It was the sound of a place practicing its promise. Amina stood and thanked everyone by name. She thanked the receptionist for the water and the careful printouts. She thanked Bilal for listening first and for writing numbers in a way that made them friendly. She thanked the owner for putting words on a wall after putting them in his mouth. She thanked Mr. Reed for staying present even when the day did not go as he had planned. She thanked Imran for opening the door yesterday and today with the same steady hand. Gratitude, given specifically, teaches faster than any poster. Outside, the light had changed again. It was that hour when edges soften and shine turns to glow. Yusuf opened the rolls, but Amina waved gently and said, "1 minute." She walked to the service bay with Bilal to look at a white van parked near a tool cabinet. It was plain and strong, with wide doors and a low step. "This will carry blankets and books," she said, tracing the air where a shelf might go. Bilal took notes about hooks and rubber mats. "We will set it up for real work, not showroom work," he promised. Back at the forecourt, the owner asked if they would like photos. Amina shook her head with a smile. "No photos today," she said. "Let the work do the talking." The owner understood. He had once read that the best stories are the ones a place can retell by its daily actions, not by a plaque. He turned to Imran. "Would you hang the new sign?" Imran nodded and took the frame carefully, as if it were a valuable glass. He placed it by the door, then stepped back to see it the way a stranger would. It looked right, simple words in large letters that any person could read without squinting. "Greet everyone. Listen first. Be clear." Amina and Omar finally stepped toward the car. Before she got in, Amina looked back at Bilal. "There is a small tradition I like," she said. "When something is done well, we ring a bell at the community center. We do not have a bell here, but we can do something else." She held out her hand. Bilal hesitated, then placed his palm against hers in a quick, friendly high five. It was small and a little shy, and it made them both laugh. Kindness does not always need big symbols. Sometimes it needs just a moment to mark the good. They drove away without noise. The city moved alongside them like a river that knows its path. In the back seat, Amina's mother watched the buildings slide by and said, "I am glad we waited for the right seat." Omar glanced in the mirror and smiled. "And I am glad we waited for the right words." Amina held the folder on her lap and felt the neat edges. She was not thinking about the brand or the shine. She was thinking about the rules on the wall and a young associate who had made them real. Inside the showroom, the air felt different, like a room after a window is opened. The receptionist greeted the next person with a voice that matched the sign. Bilal tidied the table and put the extra printouts in a labeled folder. Mr. Reed stood for a moment under the new words, reading them like a map he would now learn by heart. The owner walked the floor with slow steps, not to check, but to appreciate. Sometimes a day needs to be seen by the person who asked it to be better. In the service bay, a mechanic measured the floor of the white van and called out the length to a colleague who wrote it down. 4 shelves, the mechanic said. 4 books and blankets. He did not know the whole story. He did not need to. He knew enough to do the next right thing. As the rolls turned toward home, Amina closed her eyes for a moment and let the soft seat remind her of the morning, the clear list, the honest numbers, the gentle test that did not embarrass anyone, the promise posted by the door. Tomorrow would hold more tasks, more calls, more meals to cook and meetings to attend. But this day had placed a small stone in the right place, the kind of stone on which other good steps could rest. And that, she thought, is how a city learns to walk with more care, one simple welcome at a time. Morning arrived with a clean sky and a breeze that moved the curtains just a little. Amina woke early, not because of worry, but because her heart felt light. The new sedan key lay on the table beside the purchase folder. She held it in her palm and smiled at how small it was compared to the journey it represented. Omar brewed tea and placed a cup beside her. "First stop?" he asked. "The community center," she said. "The van delivery is at 10. I want to be there before it arrives." Yusuf came by with a gentle knock and offered to drive, but Amina chose to take the new sedan herself. "Let me learn its voice," she said. The seat remembered her setting. The steering felt easy, not stiff. Her mother slid into the passenger seat and closed the door with a soft click. "It feels like a careful hand," she said. Omar followed in another car so that Yusuf could help with the van if needed. The small convoy moved through the city like a line of quiet thoughts finding their place. At the community center, a few volunteers were already arranging tables for the reading hour. Children ran between chairs with the energy of a fresh day. When the sedan pulled in, people waved. When the white van followed, they cheered. The mechanic who had measured the floor had done his work well, rubber mats lined the back, and small hooks waited for bags. A folded note was taped to the inside wall. It read, "For books, blankets, and good work." It was signed Prestige Motors Service Team. Amina smiled and took a photo for the center's bulletin board. They christened the van with a simple tradition, a paper bell from the craft room. A child tugged the string and the bell made a small, happy sound. "We should name it," someone said. The children shouted ideas. "Helper." "Wheels of Care." A quiet boy with a library card on a string around his neck raised his hand and said, "Open door." Everyone nodded. The name felt right. The van would be an open door on wheels, going and returning with things that made life easier. Amina handed the van key to the program director and went inside to check the shelves. She ran her fingers along the spines of donated books and thought of all the hands that would hold them. She heard the laughter of two grandmothers in the corner, arguing kindly about which tea was better for a sore throat. She felt the rhythm that moves a good place forward, small tasks done with care, one after another, until the day becomes useful from beginning to end. Back at Prestige Motors, the owner called the staff to a short morning meeting by the entrance. The new sign stood beside the glass door at eye level. The letters were large and friendly. "Greet everyone. Listen first. Be clear." He did not give a long speech. He told a short story about 2 days and 2 different ways to welcome the same person. He asked 3 people to read the sign out loud, 1 line each, so the words would travel through 3 different voices. Then he asked Mr. Reed to share the revised greeting steps. Mr. Reed took a breath and spoke plainly. "No assumptions," he said. "If someone walks in, they have already told us they are serious by giving us their time." He looked at Bilal and added, "Listening is not a delay. It is the start." After the meeting, the owner called Imran to the front and handed him a written note of thanks with a bonus envelope. "For opening our door with steady hands," it said. The staff clapped, not loudly, but with warmth. Imran bowed his head a little and said, "Thank you for letting me do my work." The owner also announced a small promotion for Bilal, customer care lead, with time set aside each week to coach new hires on listening, clarity, and patient work. The title was not flashy. It did not need to be. It named what he already did well. In the afternoon, a modest family came in, parents and a teenage daughter who kept her backpack straps in both hands like handles on a small boat. The receptionist greeted them without glancing at clothes or watches. "Welcome," she said. "How can we help you today?" The father said, "We are only looking." The receptionist smiled. "Looking is where decisions begin. Would you like water? We have a round table over there where you can spread your notes." They did not know they were part of the first test of a new habit. They simply felt comfortable taking a seat. Bilal guided them to a car in their range and asked the daughter what felt important to her. She answered, "Good brakes." He nodded as if she had said something big because she had. A day passed, then 2. The story of the Rolls-Royce arriving did not turn into a loud rumor. It became something better, a quiet example inside the team. Sales went on. Targets remained. But the order of steps had changed. Greet. Listen. Be clear. People moved faster because the first minutes were steady. The showroom felt like a place where the door did not ask for a password. At home, Amina kept life as simple as before. She cooked a light dinner, checked the reading list for next week, watered the plants, and called a friend who had a new job. When Omar asked if she wanted to celebrate with a large dinner out, she said, "Let us celebrate by using the van well." The next morning, They loaded it with blankets, books, and a box of board games. Yusuf drove the van for the first run so Amina could test how the shelves held during a turn. They stayed in place. The hooks did not rattle. The name-open door made people smile as it rolled into the courtyard. On the fourth day, Amina returned to the dealership alone, wearing the same simple dress and sandals, carrying the same tote. She did not call ahead. She did not take the sedan or the rolls. She walked. She wanted to see the sign and the practice without any bright car opening a path. Imran held the door with the same steady hand. The receptionist greeted her with the same warm sentence she had used with everyone. "Welcome. How can we help you today?" Amina said, "I am only looking for a service appointment time for later." "We can do that," the receptionist said, and she offered a chair and a pen. No one asked if she was ready to buy. No one added weight to the air. The place kept its promise on an ordinary morning, and that mattered more than any big moment. As she left, Amina noticed Mr. Reed speaking to a new hire near the sign. He pointed to each line and told a short story about a woman who had asked for 5 minutes. He did not hide his part in that story. He said, "I stood in the doorway when I should have stood to the side." The new hire nodded like someone memorizing a map. Amina did not interrupt. She simply walked past and gave a small wave. Mr. Reed saw her and nodded back, a quiet thank you moving in that small space. That weekend, the showroom hosted a short training. They invited a service manager from another branch to talk about clear quoting and a teacher from a local college to talk about listening. The teacher said, "Listening is not waiting for your turn to speak. It is building a bridge to the next helpful question." The sentence landed. People wrote it down in their notebooks and on their phones. The owner added one more line to the wall sign the following week: "Ask one more helpful question." At the community center, the van earned its name every single day. It carried winter coats on a cold morning and fans on a hot afternoon. It brought a stack of large print books to a retirement home and returned with a crate of fresh fruit for the center's kitchen. Volunteers learned the van's turning radius and the best order to load boxes. Amina laughed the first time they all ran like a careful dance to fit one extra bag in the back. "Real work," she said. "Real joy." Omar watched it all with quiet pride. He never used the word billionaire in any room. He did not need to. He measured the value of a day by how many people were treated fairly in it. One evening, he and Amina sat on the same bench where they had talked after the first day. Street lights came on like small moons. He said, "You know, we could have bought 10 cars and still changed nothing." Amina nodded. The change was not the car. It was the choice. They drank tea from paper cups and let the night move around them like a slow river. A month later, a short message reached the dealership's public inbox. It was from the modest family who had sat at the round table with Bilal. "We bought a safe car," it said. "Thank you for treating us like our notes mattered." The owner printed the message and taped it behind the desk where staff would see it every morning when they came in. Numbers still went on the board. But now there was another board in the staff room with small paper cards, thank you notes, service praise, and a list of ideas to make waiting easier, books for children, a quiet corner for private calls, a sign in simple words explaining how the whole process works. Amina's mother loved short evening drives now. She liked a certain road where trees arched over the lane and the light felt like a gentle curtain. "This seat remembers me," she said each time. It made Amina happy in a way that had nothing to do with status and everything to do with care. Sometimes they drove past Prestige Motors. Sometimes they stopped and went in to refill the water bottles and to say hello. The sign by the door had been replaced with a sturdier version on a clean stand. Under the main lines, a small line read, "Posted on a promise, checked by practice." Bilal grew into his new role with a steady step. He trained new associates to write numbers clearly and to ask one honest question after the customer finished talking. He kept a small notebook of good sentences that helped people think, What does comfort mean to you on a long drive? Which part of the day will this car serve best? Would you like to sit for 5 minutes in quiet before we talk? He smiled when someone used one of those sentences and found a better answer because of it. Imran noticed more people reading the sign as they walked in. He enjoyed those small pauses. The sign gave him the same feeling a level floor gives to a person carrying a tray of tea, relief that the ground will not tilt. He kept the door tracks clean and the handles polished, not for shine alone, but because a clean handle makes a welcome feel true. And Mr. Reed? He changed his schedule so that he spent the first half hour of each day by the entrance instead of in his office. He greeted 3 people before he checked his email. He learned to step back when someone else was already doing a good job. He discovered that a manager's best moment can be letting the right person carry the moment forward. On a quiet Tuesday, Amina parked the sedan a street away and walked to the dealership to drop off a thank you card for Bilal and Imran. On the way, she passed a bakery and bought 2 small boxes of sweet rolls. She placed a card on each box. For listening, one read. For opening the door, the other read. She left them without waiting for a photo or a handshake. Then she walked back into the day that needed her in many other places. The story did not end with a headline. It settled into routines that kept their shape. A sign by a door. A chair offered the moment a person entered. A seat tested for 5 quiet minutes. A quote written so clearly a tired parent could understand it at a glance. A van named Open Door stopping at a curb where a child waved with both hands. As evening reached across the city, the glass front of Prestige Motors reflected the sky. Inside, a family in modest clothes stood near a car with a calm color. Bilal showed them the seat memory button and then stepped back. The receptionist filled 2 paper cups with water and set them down carefully. Imran watched the door as the street moved past like a patient river. The owner walked the floor with slow steps, reading not the numbers this time, but the faces. And outside, Amina drove by on her way to the center, the new van in her mirror for a moment before it turned down a side street toward a building where the bell made of paper hung on a string, waiting for the next small, good thing to celebrate. The last image of the day was simple, a hand on a handle, a door opening, a welcome spoken before any other question. A lesson kept. A promise made real. A city just a little kinder than it was the week before.